Hi, my name is Billy. I read books, and these are the books I'm looking at reading in June of 2023. I'm going to tell you about 4 books. One's an epic fantasy, 2 a progression fantasy, and 1 is a dystopian science fiction book. So the first one is book 2 in Lycanius trilogy by James Idlington, or James as I'm going to call him, because I don't know how to pronounce his surname. This is book 2 in Lycanius. As you can see, I've already started it. I'm only just about into it. I'm only about 50 pages in there. It's about 700, talking 700, just over 700 pages long. And I'm reading this because last month I read the first book in the series, The Shadow of What Was Lost. That's a big boy as well. And I had a good time with that. Really fast paced, but not in the terms of like action and fighting and combat or like big battle scenes or anything like that. There's just a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. There's a lot to keep track of. So what I don't want to do is leave it for a good few months before I carry on with book 2. So to keep my memories fresh, to keep everything straight in my mind, that's why I'm jumping back into this straight so soon. But thankfully, at the beginning, there's a mini catch-up, and at the back, there's a glossary in terms of characters, places, and terminologies and things like that, which I wish more authors or more publishers would do with their books, because especially something as big as this with as much going on, it's definitely needed. So the second one I'm going to talk about is progression fantasy, and I'm going to read book 6 in Cradle by Will White, and this is Underlord. Now, so far with Cradle, I'm a bit meh, really. I think I gave book 1 4 out of 5. And the rest have all been 3 stars, really. And this is book 6 out of, I believe, a planned 12. So I'm about halfway through. And I'd always been thinking, is it because it's progression fantasy? Now, progression fantasy, if you don't know, is where characters start off very, very weak or low skilled or low powered. And then as they gain experience, as they gain more knowledge, more skill, they get stronger and more powerful. And they progress, hence why it's progression fantasy. And I was thinking, is it because I just don't like progression fantasy? Because that was the first series I tried in that subgenre. But I've realised it's not, because of the next book I will talk about, which is progression fantasy, and I really, really liked. So I want to know, now I know it's not the progression fantasy element to it. I want to be able to go back into it and just try and enjoy the story for what it is. I still can't quite put my finger on what it is. That just isn't quite clicking with me. But these books are quite short. They're not really that long. My other slight issue with going into this book is because I have left this quite a while. And I'm not worried so much that I'm going to forget a lot of what's going on. It's more a case of, can I get back into it again? 6 books is a decent way to be into a series, and am I going to just be reading it and just be thinking, you know what, I want to read the next book. So we'll see, because that next book is progression fantasy, and it is book 2 in The Wandering Inn by Pirate Harbour. Now this is a big book. I can't remember quite how many pages this is. I will put it here, but this is going to be keeping me active for a couple of months, I would say, because I'm not going to solely commit to reading this all in one go, because if I do, literally I'm going to have nothing to talk about on this channel, and it will probably spoil my enjoyment. I'm not someone who can just sit down and read a book of this size solely. I have other books on the go at any one time, so I will use this book 2 in The Wandering Inn to tide me over for a good few months, I think. This again is progression fantasy. I did a spoiler-free review for the first book, which I will link down below. And it's really, really good. It starts off very, very basic. It starts off very, very basic, where this character called Erin finds herself in this world. She finds a disused inn. She starts cleaning up, and by the end of the day, when she goes to sleep, a voice chimes in her head and says, "Innkeeper level 1, class obtained." And he basically goes from there. Now that sounds quite basic, quite simple, and this is a web serial from thewanderinginn.com that you can read for free. That's been put into book format. I bought both these books, I think, for $2.99. So they're not expensive, but they're big books, so it's value for money. And the way that first book progressed and improved, and where it got to from where it started, was just amazing. Just absolutely amazing. I went from thinking this is just going to be an average 3-star rating to giving it 5 stars. So that's why I'm going into book 2. Everything I hear is that this series just gets better and better and better. And it's the biggest fantasy series ever written, and it's not completed yet. I don't think I will ever catch up or be up to date with this series because it's so big. But I'm really looking forward to it. So that's what I'm going to read, and I'm going to carry on with that. That's why I want to get Cradle done first. I was toying with the idea of just going with The Wandering Inn along the same time as reading the second book in Lycanius. But I thought if I do that, I'm not going to get to Cradle. I'd rather read Cradle first and maybe a bit about it, but be happy that I've progressed the series and then go into The Wandering Inn, which I'm 99.99% sure I'm going to enjoy. So it's going to be Lycanius, Cradle. I'm going to have Wandering Inn lurking in the background, going on for a few months, no doubt. And then the dystopian science fiction book I spoke about is going to be The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Now this one's just kind of come out of nowhere, really. Well, I say it's come out of nowhere, it's not. I get reminded of this almost on a daily basis, because there's a lady who lives down the road who I see through my living room window, walking down the road, walking her dog, who wears an orange coat and has a big hood up, which looks very much like, it always reminds me of that cover with the coat thing or whatever it is that the characters are wearing. So I don't know this lady's name, I just refer to her as the Handmaid's Tale lady. So that's why it's always in my mind. And having recently read 1984 by George Orwell, I thought, you know what, there's these dystopian books that are classics that I need to get to, I need to try my hand at, I need to read. So just so I can stop referring to the lady as the Handmaid's Tale lady, I'm going to give this a go. I don't think it's a particularly big book. I think it's just under 400 pages, I think it is. So yeah, I thought this was a standalone, but apparently there's a second book as well. Can't remember what that's called, but it's a duology. So we'll see how this goes. If I like it, I will no doubt pick up the second book as well. And there we go. Those are the books I'm looking at reading in June of 2023. Let me know what you think. Have you read them? Let me know in the comments below what you're going to be reading this month. And if you like this video, give it a Billy Big Thumb. Give it a thumbs up because it helps me out. Okay, I'll see you again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.